Hi guys, Clayton here with Brass Addicts 07. Today is a good day. We got a new rifle just picked up. It is a Fierce Firearms 22-inch barrel twisted rifle. This thing is a cool looking gun. It's in battle blue. It's going to be replacing my old standby, the 220 Swift. By the way, if you like guns, all things guns, varmint hunting in general, hit like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to mount a scope on this rifle, and I have chosen the Burris Eliminator 6, brand new scope from Burris. I'm a big Burris fan. Awesome scope for the money that you have to buy for, that you have to spend on them. Good glass, everything works, and if something's wrong you just send it back and they fix it. No questions asked. Can't beat anything better than that. So today we're going to mount that scope on this rifle, and when we get that done we'll go sight this bad boy in and see what happens. So what I'm going to start with is we're going to put tally bases on it. And then we'll also go with tally rings. I'm a big fan of tally. There's all sorts of good rings bases out there. I prefer tally, but that's just me. So to get started, I'll pull this out and make sure it's supposed to fit. Everything's supposed to work on that. Put the screws and everything over here. Alright. Let me check and make sure this is good. Yep, that's how that dude goes on there, right there. Okay, so that's what it'll look like when I'm done to start this thing. It's a first thing I like to do when I get a new rifle or mount any scope. I like to take some acetone or something of that nature if I can get my little pump to work here. There we go. I like to clean out all the excess oil and everything from your screw holes to make sure everything sticks, because I'm going to use some Loctite, that sort of thing. The blue Loctite. Don't ever use the red Loctite. You'll not be happy with yourself if you ever have to remove the scope. So I like to get that done. So I'm going to get these screws out. Come out of the bag. And then I'll put them right here. And then I'm going to take my Q-tip here, real easily, just to clean them off here. If you can see, I'm just knocking the excess oil and that kind of stuff that might be on them from the factory. Who knows? Anyway, we'll just get them clean and make sure that everything's going to adhere to how it's supposed to be. And then this is a step I do. It's probably not necessary, but I like to do it anyway. I like to put all my screws in, make sure everything's going to set how it is, and then I'll take one screw out at a time and Loctite it. This is usually what I like to try to do. So I'm just going to start a couple of screws here and just make sure that for my base here, everything sits kind of like it's supposed to here. Okay, that one's going to work just fine. I'm going to go over here on this back one. Make sure all your holes are going to line up. You never know. You might have something not exactly right. So I like to make sure everything's right before I add the Loctite, so that it's just done. And I'm just I'm not tightening these very much at all, just making sure all the holes are lined up and everything's kind of going to set how I expect it to. And it does. So everything sits just fine. That's sitting on there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some Loctite right here. And I got some Loctite primer as well. And I'm going to take one of these out at a time. It's kind of a slower process, but I'd rather get it done right than not have to take it all apart and have a mess. So, oops, good thing I had that box there. Where did that go? Okay guys, found my screw. Sorry about that. Dropped it, had to take care of that. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, this is some Loctite primer that I like to use. Put a little bit of that on my screws. And then I'm going to put just a little drop of Loctite on this dude. Like I say, not very much. It doesn't take very much. Just enough. I'm going to put that dude in there like so. And we'll get her straightened up here. There we go. So that one started in there. Just kind of snug, that's all I did. Another little shot of primer here. Okay. Another little bit of Loctite. Okay. We're going to put that one in there. Like so. Oh, we'll just do it this way. Start with. Kind of snug. Get my last screw out of here. Got one in here. Oops. Guess I probably, before I do that, I probably need to put my primer on there. Okay. That on there. Now we can go with some Loctite. Okay, I already put some Loctite on this one off camera that I didn't show you. Alright, so now that I have those snug, this is on here where I want it. I'm going to take my wheeler wrench here, torque wrench, and we're going to torque those down to about 30 inch-pounds. So we're going to start off at about 25 and then we'll add to it. What I like to do is I like to start up front or in the back, whichever you prefer. And just start easing them down. Go to all four of them. Now you can start torquing. That one there is torqued. This one now is torqued. So I'm going to go back to this one. Okay, those are torqued down to 25. Now I'm going to bump it up to 30. Get it in there. Well, there we go. Alrighty. So with that, the base is set. So now what we want to do is we want to level this rifle before we put a scope on it. And to do that, I like Wheeler engineering levels. They just work for me. There's all sorts of different tools that you can use, but this is the one I prefer. So I'm going to take this dude out of the box and I'm going to level this rifle. Set this box right here. First I'm going to start with this here, and I'm going to get it level this way. Okay. Push it down just a hair. Alrighty. Now that's level. Now I'm going to level it this way. This rifle needs to spin just a little bit this way. I want to make sure that that's going to stay right where I want it to. You need to make sure that you take plenty of time when you're leveling these. One of the most important things of these mounting a scope is that you get your rifle level, get your scope level. That's the most important thing that you can do. So now that I've got that level and everything is true, which it is, that's where this little dude comes in handy. So now you can take this loose here. Get it loose so we can get it going here. Maybe back that down a little bit. I'm going to put it on this rifle. And it needs to come down a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to snug these up. They don't have to be extremely tight by any means. It has a little level right here, and what I want to do is I want to adjust this to match this bubble right here, which it does. They're both dead center. I like it. Now this has now become my level. So this one here I can actually take off for the time being. Then I also have an action level, and I like to set that in there as well, just to double check, make sure everything's done. So basically I've got this rifle leveled 3 ways. That's what we'll do when we level the scope. But first of all, we need to put some rings on here. Kind of do a little adjusting on that. So I'm going to pull the rings out of here. There. Put the screws in here so I don't lose them. Alright. You get this other one out. I'm just going to take these screws out of here for the time being. Set that aside. Back these out just a little bit. And this will be my first ring. to set it on there for right now. I'm not going to tighten anything. I'm just going to set it down there because I may need to move it here shortly when I get everything else out of here and the scope sitting on there. Okay. Back this one out a little bit. Back this one out a little bit. See if that dude will fit on there. And it does. Okay. So I just got those sitting there. What we're going to do now is we're going to unbox this scope. Set this over here. Got a fancy Burris towel there. And here's the scope. Brand spanking new. The technology on this thing is just nice. So, I can see that I have plenty of eye relief. If anything, I'd have to move it backwards. So since that's the case, I'm just going to snug this down just a hair so that I don't have to. I'm going to snug these rings down a little bit on the rail. Boy, this Eliminator 6 is a good looking scope. I've got a few Eliminators, a 3 and a 5. My wife has a 4, and we like them. The only thing I didn't like about the Eliminator, like anybody else, and then I'm taking off the Burris Forever warranty, and that thing comes in handy. No questions asked. Just send it back to Burris and they will fix it. That's one of the reasons why I go with Burris. Just kind of nice to have that peace of mind that no matter what, your scope is going to be handled if something should go wrong with it. Actually, I had a buddy that had his rifle on his four-wheeler, and he had a Burris scope on it, and he got into a four-wheeler crash and just destroyed his scope. But it was a Burris Eliminator scope, and he called Burris and he asked them, he was willing to pay for it if they could just repair it for him. And they told him, no sense in worrying about that, just send it in and we'll fix it or replace it. And by golly, it didn't cost him a thing, and it was his own fault. And that's the kind of Burris company Burris is they, no questions asked, they just replaced it for him. That's a good warranty. That's something I just appreciate about Burris. For some reason I'm having troubles with this screw in here, and I don't know why. Something is not exactly kosher with it. Try this here. And I'm not tightening these up or anything. I need to set my eye relief and a few things like that first before I even think about Loctiting or anything like that, or leveling this scope. So I'm just going to get this on there so that I can look through my rifle this level is good, it's not going to move, so as long as that's good on there, I'm going to tighten that all up, make sure everything's good, make sure it's not going to go anywhere. This level is still true. I'm just going to step right over here to the side for just a second, just check my eye relief. That looks pretty good to me. Alrighty, so now that I've got my eye relief, I'm going to take this cap off. And I'm going to go back to my level again. I'm going to set it right up here. And now I'm going to turn the scope until it's level. Might have tightened me down a little bit too far yet. Loosen it up just a hair. Okay. There we go. Now that is perfectly level. That's level. And that's level. That's what I like to do. So now that I've got that level and where I want it, I'm going to be really careful not to watch your scope as you're tightening down your ring screws. So now I'm going to go back to my Loctite. Here. I'm just going to get one or two threads started on this side. I'm going to go back over here and get another screw. Take a little bit of my primer and knock it off a little bit. Put my Loctite on this one. I'm going to put it opposite of this one. I put this one in the front, and this one here is going to go in the back. And I'm just going to get it started. There we go, that's started. I don't really like that screw very much. I don't know why. That's not working exactly how I want it to. Put one in here. Now, on these scopes where your rings go together, you kind of want to go back and forth so you bring them down together and you don't have a gap on this side and no gap on this side. You kind of want them to be even. So remember that when you're mounting a scope. You want everything to be evened up, so you're not pulling your scope one way or another, tweaking it. So that's kind of what I'm checking for now. And then I will torque these down when I'm done to 20 inch-pounds, and that should be a mounted scope. And then we'll get that done, and we'll do a video of shooting this thing for the first time. This rifle ought to be a lot of fun. I don't know if you know anything about the 22 Creedmor, but it's fast, flat, shoots heavy. Well, it's my load what I'm going to try to do. My intentions are anyway. I'm going to try to shoot the 162 grain Hornady ELD VT, which is their matching varmint bullet, because it's highly explosive. Here where I live, we don't keep hides on the coyotes anyway, it ain't worth it. But we do keep the predators down, and that's kind of the whole purpose of it. So I want something that's just going to knock them flat, no questions asked. And so I'm hoping to shoot somewhere in that 3,500 feet per second range. Kind of match the low end of my 220 Swift. And if I can do that, by golly, this will be a coyote thumper. That's what I'm looking forward to. So I also will be taking, when I get this scope sighted in and get the barrel broke in, I'll be taking off this Nix muzzle brake and replacing that with the Thunder Beast Ultra 9 suppressor. That's kind of my thoughts. We'll see how it all turns out. And then we will be ready for some coyotes. Alrighty. Got a little primer on my rings, I'm just wiping it off. Okay, and that's how you mount a scope. Now I'm just going to do the same thing here, torque them down, back and forth, and we will have it done. But I'm going to take this rifle out and just double check, make sure I got everything how I want it. So we'll try that. Alrighty, everything's level. Got all my screws started. So what I'm going to do, I've checked spacing on this side and this side. Everything is good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just walk these down. Just a little bit at a time. And then I'm going to swap sides. You want to just crisscross them. Until we get them torqued. And I'm going to torque these at 20 inch-pounds. See how I'm just going back and forth a little bit, just making sure they're all evenly tightened, everything's level, we're good. Bring that down just a hair. I might be 22 inch-pounds on that. I want to be about 20. There we go. Well, that's torqued down. There. Now that scope is mounted, I can go ahead and put my cap back on. Everything's level. I like it. I'm going to show you, if you don't have a torque wrench, you can take your Allen wrench that is supplied with every one of these rings and you can put it in there. I guess I probably ought to get the right one though. Yep, that's the right one. And you can take it down to where it's just tight and then just a hair more. Just a shade more. And you're good. So there it is. A shout out to Fierce for making a good looking firearm. A big shout out to Burris. I really enjoy Burris. The reason I chose the Eliminator on this scope, I do a lot of coyote hunting, and it was kind of a toss-up between the Burris Veracity PH, which I have on a 7mm PRC, and I really enjoy that scope, or the Eliminator 6. When you're big game hunting, you usually have time to range everything. If they're, I mean, you can pretty much judge if you can just put your scope up and pull the trigger on one and hit it. With a coyote, it's a little different. You don't really have time to have a separate rangefinder. So I wanted an all-in-one package where I don't have to get off the scope. I can just push the button and I'll mount it comes with a remote. And I think I'll mount this remote somewhere on the side of this rifle so I can hit it with my thumb. So when I'm following a coyote, I can just hit it and range it, and it'll give me my aiming solution and pull the trigger. I think it'll speed things up for me. It can't hurt, and the technology on this scope is amazing. If you guys don't know anything about the Burris Eliminator 6, take a look at it. It looks like it's going to be an awesome scope. So I will be reviewing this scope, reviewing this rifle, the whole setup, in the days to come, so keep an eye out. Thanks again for watching.